Today we're going to be breaking down a little bit about XRP and XRPL and all of that and how it pertains to RLUSD. If you want to know anything about the ecosystem, this is a video for you guys, so stick around. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into Tech Path. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Uphold. This is a great place where you can actually now get RLUSD over on Uphold, and they're paying some yield over there. So check it out. Go to uphold.com and get started with your own crypto journey. Very easy to set up and super flexible, both for individuals and enterprises. So get started at Uphold. All right, guys, let's get into a couple of things I want to jump into. And of course, one of the things you got to look at is what's happening over within the RLUSD ecosystem. If you look at just the stablecoin market right now, what you're seeing right there, let me kind of zoom in on that for you a little bit. You'll notice that PayPal, PYUSD, and RLUSD, when it comes to the 24-hour activity and volume, RLUSD starting to show some signs of potential market control here. So cool to watch, I think, especially for a lot of our audience that are big into the XRP ecosystem. So liquidity is a big part of that. I think this is interesting to see this happen. And when you think about some of the ecosystems that are involved in this, one, of course, is Axelar. You guys have heard us talk about Axelar before. We're going to have them on the show today. But you can kind of see just the potential here for a lot of interoperability, a lot of chains already. You'll see many that you recognize there, but most likely we're going to see a lot more coming in as well. So that's a big part of it in terms of the growth of RLUSD, but also just the XRP ecosystem. And then last, I want to show a little bit about just the amount of transaction volume that has really started to move up on Axelar here recently. So not bad in terms of overall volume as well as transactions continuing to climb. You have to think, man, there's got to be some really big things happening within this ecosystem. So we thought, let's get two experts on the show to really dive into that. And joining me today, of course, is Jasmine Cooper, Jazzy, who is the head of DeFi over at RippleX, and then Georgios Vlanchos, who is the co-founder and director over at Axelar. So great to have you guys on the show.
Thanks for having us. Great to be
here. You bet. Excellent.
Thanks
so
for having us.
First of all, I want to kind of just, throw out the idea of the fact that we've seen such amazing volume in a very short period of time, both for RLUSD, but also the ecosystem. Are you guys surprised at the activity in such a short time? Georgios, just kind of lead off with you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, RLUSD is interesting. The leading use case on the XRPL has been remittances. Historically, people have been doing it through XRP as the intermediary asset. Now there's an even easier way by holding RLUSD, but XRPL has a lot of market share in the field of remittances, and it's just a very natural product, right? And I mean, I'm not surprised at all by the volume, and it's also great for the existing XRPL ecosystem because when you're doing transactions with RLUSD, most of the transactions are on the XRPL. You pay gas in XRP, so it's also great for the XRP asset itself, not just
Sure. Obviously, Jasmine, you're going to be involved. You're involved a lot in the DeFi side of things. This could get into a scenario where we've got a lot of situations in terms of liquidity, pairs coming, all that good stuff. Anything that has surprised you guys so far in what we've seen with just the activity, especially around RLUSD?
Yeah, no major surprises to date. Just as cash powers the majority of the financial system, you need it for settlement, you need it for payments, you need it for liquidity. Same goes for stablecoins in crypto and in DeFi. And so from a Ripple perspective, we're trying to power real value, real utility use cases like remittances, payments, et cetera, for financial institutions. And so we don't expect them to lower their bar in terms of quality, security, scalability when operating on XRP Ledger or within blockchain. So that's really why we brought RLUSD to the market and aim to have the highest level of standards in those areas. So not surprised by the volume and excited to see where it goes from here.
Let's talk about EVM sidechain. This is one of the founders over at XP Market. He did a tweet that I thought was interesting because this was a breakdown on some of the issues that I think the market, let me kind of zoom in on that for you guys so you can see a little bit there. Some of the challenges that the market would look at, interoperability there, some of the liquidity still growing, the potential there, trading utility is still and again, for RLUSD, this is a brand new project, brand new token out there in terms of stablecoin. What is kind of the next best low-hanging fruit for you guys to kind of start to improve on that?
So there's a number of different challenges and sort of three overlapping ecosystems. There's the XRPL mainnet chain, there's the EVM sidechain, and then there's a number of other top blockchains that will be connected to through the Axelar network. And so I think there's a different opportunity in each of those spaces, and we can kind of go into that. But at a high level, Ripple recently launched its initial version of payments on DEX, so bringing a part of its payments product from centralized exchanges to the decentralized exchanges, and that's on XRPL mainnet. EVM sidechain is basically a way to expand the existing DeFi capabilities on mainnet. So mainnet, we believe is best in class at a limited number of financial protocols. That's payments, trading, and then hopefully lending in 2025. But from there on, there's a lot of innovation going on in DeFi that XRPL mainnet might not be the best place, for that to take place, like perpetuals trading, for example. So that's where EVM sidechain comes in. That's where bridging to other protocols through Axelar comes in as well, and just creates a lot of new utility opportunities for RLUSD, XRP, and for the users and holders of those tokens.
Yeah, any challenges like raised, on social media is still very early for RLUSD, right? It's a growing asset. Everything will improve over time. I think it helps to think of XRPL as what it's best in class as, right? XRPL, to my knowledge, was the first blockchain to do asset tokenization. That was years before Ethereum mainnet even launched. I believe it had the first or one of the first order books on chain. And as Jasmine mentioned, those primitives are very strong and are very easy to use on the XRPL. But we cannot dispute that there's so much innovation on other ecosystems over the past few years, right? Ethereum has a lot of very strong DeFi primitives, AMMs, lending protocols. It's clear that big money managers like BlackRock are tokenizing on the Ethereum blockchain, right? So the innovation there cannot be discounted. And by launching an EVM compatible chain that's specific to the XRPL ecosystem, this will allow XRP holders who don't want to take their XRP and go to another ecosystem, they don't want to sell it, to natively use all these innovations, right? So it augments the capabilities of the XRPL with all of the innovation that we've seen in the Ethereum space over the past few years. And as a holder of XRP, you will be able to do interesting things like, well, let's get a loan on my XRP because these XRP people, like they're very, very big believers in XRP. Sometimes they don't want to sell. You get a loan on a stable coin and you can use it to pay your expenses, right? That's something that's going to be very, very easy to do on the EVM sidechain. And the role of Axelar will be to securely bridge XRP to that chain so that people can use it to pay for gas, can use it to do other interesting functionalities.
So Uphold, our sponsor, they obviously are paying yield on XRPL now. The likelihood is this is going to create some demand for it, not only on Uphold, but also maybe on some other exchanges out there where we'd start to see the stablecoin be available. How long before you think we'll see more availability of RLUSD, especially around some of the major chains or exchanges out there? Anything you can share, Jazzy?
Yeah, I don't have specific launch dates or partnerships I can list off now, but if you think about it, RLUSD really just launched, just came to market, and it was in the middle of the holiday period. I know there's a big team behind the project, and they're spending a lot of time partnering with the right industry experts to figure out what are the key places for RLUSD to be available to really maximize accessibility, utility, et cetera. So I expect, in Q1 and especially throughout H1 to see, more and more adoption on the critical entry points across crypto.
Right. I want to jump to the interchange token service, Georgios, real quick. I was looking at a tweet you guys had, and this video that you have on the X account there kind of shows the ease of being able to launch a token that can go across a variety of chains all at the same time. And when you look at that, why aren't we seeing, first of all, I guess, why aren't we seeing more devs kind of moving in that direction around ITS? And can you give us a little bit more clarity of what it does and how it works?
Well, it's undisputable at this point in time that there's going to be a lot of change, right? If you follow me on X, like I talk about 1 million chains, which I think is a perfectly viable outcome in the next 5 years. I'm happy to talk more about that. But developers are launching all kinds of assets. If we look at the category of RWAs or stablecoins like RLUSD, those are assets that are valuable for every single application, right? And today we're in a world where the biggest DeFi applications like Uniswap and many, many others are launching their own chains. So without interoperability, productive assets like stablecoins, like tokenized treasury products, are not going to be available on those applications. And we see so much demand, especially from this kind of issuers, to be on many different chains. Now, if you're an RWA issuer, your choice is twofold, right? One is you can go and natively deploy on many different chains. And the other is you can use a product like Axelar to one-click deploy on 10, 20, 30 different chains, right? And this is great for the industry because you can have your engineers focus on your core product, not have to worry about spending engineering cycles to redeploy on many different chains, and just allow the space to move forward much faster and everyone to innovate on what their expertise is, not just redeploying the same code on 10 or 20 different chains.
Well, we've seen a lot of total value really kind of growing over time here, and you would think that we would see a consistent amount of new developers. First of all, what is your awareness around it in terms of developers coming into the ecosystem? I'm sure you guys have a lot more access than even we know of what's happening out there. What does it look like for 2025? Or is there just an onslaught of new devs coming in? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, the number one use case that we get demand for is asset tokenization across many, many chains.
Right.
We see this even with meme coins or some of the AI coins. They want to be on multiple chains. And we spent the vast majority of 2024 developing what we call the Mobius developer stack on top of Axelar, which is a technology stack for building connections to new VMs. And on top of that, you can have the interchain token service through which a developer can deploy a token on many different VMs. So the interchain token service today is only live for EVM chains, but soon it's going to be live for Solana, for XRPL, for Sui, for Ton, all of those non-EVM chains where, frankly, the vast majority of developers don't have the technical expertise to write code. Because most developers, maybe they know how to write code on XRPL. If they want to redeploy their token on Solana, they probably don't know how to write on the Solana VM or on the EVM, right? And this is really the core customer of this product. If you don't have technical expertise to launch on 5 different VMs on like 10, 20 different chains, and frankly, you have no reason to, you can do it with a one-click deployment through this front end. And for 2025, we want to expand this product to all of the big chains, starting with XRPL, Sui, Solana, and many more in the pipeline.
So, okay, so ease of use, I think this is going to get back to your point, which is going to be making it much easier for the developers to kind of go into the cross-chain capabilities there. Jazzy, when you look at the potential of what this means, not only Axelar, what they're doing, but also the ecosystem of devs and new projects coming in so quickly, how quickly do you think this is going to impact kind of not only the stablecoin side of things, but also I think just the ecosystem in general? Do you think everybody was kind of waiting for the stablecoin to drop, and now it's like everybody putting the hammer down? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I guess zooming out a little bit, I mean, blockchain and crypto has matured a lot in the last 10, even the last five years. And I actually think this year, back half of 2024, moving into 2025, I think we're at a really critical turning point where we're no longer only targeting the limited pool of devs that are early adopters, that are very technologically sophisticated and just want to tinker and see what they can build. I think we're moving out of that phase into, okay, how can I bring blockchain rails to existing businesses, to fintechs, to banks, to financial institutions, to large technology companies. And I think once you can make it very clear to them, here are the advantages of blockchain technology. You're going to increase transparency, lower cost, increase efficiency, broaden adoption. And you take that value proposition and combine it with, better developer tooling, better developer experience, like Georgios just showed us. That's when you're really going to see the industry take off, and you're going to see, a huge amount of mainstream adoption. So that's what I'm particularly excited about in 2025.
Anything that you feel that needs to happen for that to kind of, I guess, create a launch pad going forward?
Yeah, I mean, Uniswap is big. They're the behemoth in the space, no doubt. But if you compare that to the size of, traditional finance payments or traditional finance trading, it is minuscule. And so I think the next big phase is going to be, how can you create a developer experience, the right tooling and value proposition to actually reach these massive traditional financial markets? And I think that'll be the next big phase. And if you look at, the way Stripe tackled payments, right?
Yeah.
Like, they made the barrier to adding payments to your e-commerce site so simple. And I think that's something we really need to improve upon in the blockchain space, is stop using such complex terminology, such complex, low-level developer tooling, and really just up-level it, simplify it, and make it clear, if you use these trading rails as opposed to traditional financial trading rails, here are the benefits your business will get, and here are the 5 steps that you take to get started. So that's what we're focused on now.
Yeah, so I like that, what you just said, because that to me is one of the critical components of next generation adoption that we're going to see, whether it, especially with stablecoin regulation most likely coming out very soon, we'll most likely see a lot more banks and financial institutions starting to roll out. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I do agree with you in terms of the adoption. But also, to your point, Uniswap is very minuscule compared to the traditional financial system, which obviously XRPL has a lot more connectivity there. So I would agree that's going to be a big one. I want to jump back to you, Georgios, on because I'm going to go over to your Mobius development stack, and this was some of the milestones that you guys had placed here. One of the things that we're interested in is the upcoming ones that are coming in terms of integrations. The ones we're really interested in is Solana and Flow. What's the likelihood of those happening soon? Any kind of time frame you can give us?
Generally marketing won't be very happy if I give timelines.
Come on,
Axelar,
Georgia.
we always prioritize security, so we have to wait for audits to be final, but we can say it's fairly soon.
Fairly soon. Okay, well, I like fairly soon. That's a good timeline going forward. So definitely.
And just to give you a sense, right, of like the complexity of these implementations. We started building Axelar almost 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago at this point. And it's been live for 3 years. And when we were starting out, we would see all of these different bridging products in the space that would custody like hundreds of millions, and I think in some cases billions of dollars, and they would all claim they're decentralized.
Yeah.
And look at the teams, you would look at their GitHubs, there was no code, it was fully closed source. Like some of them even had some fake dashboards that showed a bunch of like validator nodes, but there was nothing, right? And it was pretty clear to us as technical people that they were all claiming to be decentralized. Usually the founder had, a key in their back pocket in some ledger. And when inevitably many of those got hacked, billions of dollars were lost, right? Like in 2022, I think more than $1 billion just in a single year got lost in cross-chain hacks. And then for more than a year, people were scared to even touch interoperability technology, right? So with Axelar, we were the first interoperability platform to take a fundamentally different approach. And instead of having a custodial holding the keys for the cross-chain communication, we decided to use a blockchain, create a decentralized validator set of 75 validators today and growing. And those validators have to collectively approve cross-chain transactions. And to this day, Axelar is the only decentralized platform on the market with these properties. Almost everything else is fully custodial. And that's why some of these integrations take longer, right?
Yeah,
like on the XRPL integration, we're working on for quite some time. But just to add to Jaz's point, it was always clear to us that this will take a while to launch, but the space is still very small, right? And the XRPL and Ripple in particular, which is a core contributor like in the ecosystem, they have all the TradFi connections, they're very strong on go-to-market, and we'll be able to take all of the EVM innovations and just get them widely adopted, both in TradFi and just the wider world, right? So that's why I'm also very excited, because these innovations, like Uniswap, are great, but we need to onboard billions of people in the space. And I believe that the XRPL EVM chain, by augmenting those innovations, is going to bring a lot more users and be a net positive for the space.
Well, I think you guys hit it, is that if you look at the amount of development cycle that happened 3-4 years ago versus what we've seen just in the last 6 months for a lot of chains, as well as not only XRPL, but it seems like it has really come to a head over the past really half a year or so, that has primed almost the timing perfectly with what's happening in the market and what's happening in terms of development rollout. So all that is good news for, I think, for everybody, because that's going to help kind of create these launch pads going forward, especially going into the major financial sectors. Speaking of that, Georgios, I want to talk, I'm over on your website and I'm looking at your some of your partners. You got Deutsche Bank right there, JP Morgan, obviously that's the Onyx platform. Talk to me a little bit about that partnership. What does it look like? What's the goal for it? Where is this going to take kind of the platform of what you guys are doing?
Institutions are launching their own chains, right? And we've seen some institutions like BlackRock tokenizing on public chains, but a lot of the banks want to own their stack because there's a lot of private information in their infrastructure, so they can't directly go on a public chain. What we saw with Deutsche Bank very recently, they announced a layer 2 using the ZKC stack on top of Ethereum. There's going to be a lot more financial institutions that are going to be launching their own chains. And interoperability is very important in that future, because if you launch your own chain and you don't have a way to communicate with public chains and other private chains of other financial institutions, you are siloed and you cannot even do cross-border transactions across those ledgers, right? And this is where Axelar comes in. We're providing a solution for institutions where you can customize your connection to the Axelar network. You can own completely internally, like the permissions of what information goes back and forth, so you can maintain access controls and privacy of your network. And through the Axelar chain, you can send information to any other chain that is connected to the Axelar network, right? So the role of Axelar there is connected these institutional chains to Axelar. It's a work you do once, you create a single connection, and then through the Axelar network, you can forward assets, you can forward information to any other public or private blockchain that is connected in the Axelar ecosystem.
If you look at the global market overview in general, total RWA on chain right now, about 15.2 billion. And then if you look at some of the networks there, you can kind of see the networks lined up there. How long before we would see potentially an XRPL on there?
So there are, real world assets on XRP Ledger today. Unfortunately, RWA.xyz is a really great platform. I love it. I think they do a great job displaying the space, but I believe it is partnership based. So there are real world assets on XRP Ledger. We're working on a partnership with them so that we can expose that value on RWA.xyz. So
let's get into just kind of the last question I want to hit on, and that is priorities for 2025 with XRPL. Jazzy, I'll stay with you. What are some of the next big steps for the DeFi ecosystem? I know you're working a lot on that you can share with us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super excited for 2025. A couple big things that we have on our product roadmap on RippleX are the MPT token, which is a new token standard that is purpose-built to support real-world assets. So we've proposed that as an amendment to the XRP Ledger. We're waiting for the validator community to decide whether or not they want to adopt that. But we believe that that's a really strong foundation for tokenizing real-world assets. From there, I think while tokenization is a huge tailwind in the industry, eventually, tokenizers are going to wonder, okay, what do I do with it now that it's on chain? How can I extract value for myself or my users? And that's where DeFi protocols come in. So two that we're especially excited about are permission DEX. So that will power Ripple payments initially, and then hopefully other institutional trading use cases thereafter. And that basically allows for on-chain decentralized trading in a permissioned environment, but built in a way such that there can be arbitrage with the open markets and really, liquidity maximized in that regard. So perfect kind of rails for institutional trading to be brought on chain. The second one I'm especially excited about is lending on XRP mainnet. We'll originally start with collateralized credit origination, uncollateralized credit origination with off-chain underwriting. And then from there, start to bring collateral on-chain as well towards the end of 2025. So that really rounds out our focus from a Ripple perspective on XRPL, which is 3 use cases, in particular payments, trading, and then lending, again, targeting those existing fintechs and financial institutions.
All right, so you got a big list there of stuff to get done. So kudos on you. Georgios, how about you? When you look at not what you guys are doing, I'm thinking cross-chain a little bit here, at least what we've seen in the markets. A lot of demand, obviously, with some of the key chains there. But even now, what we're starting to see is things like AI agents that could be going into a request for cross-chain. Any kind of future there with Axelar?
With Axelar, first of all, our priority for the next year is coverage. Interoperability is a business of coverage. We want to have as many chains as possible. A simple analogy is that if you think of Web 2, we have a lot of personal computers, and the internet has to connect with all of them, right? The internet is not helpful if it can connect to 1/3 of the world, and then you have another 1/3. And interoperability is the internet technology for blockchains, and you need to have the widest coverage, right? So in 2024, we built the Mobius stack, which is the infrastructure that will allow Axelar to scale rapidly. And 2025 is the year we scale, starting with XRPL and SUI, and we're going to be moving very, very fast once those 2 chains go live. To the question about AI agents, one complaint we get in general about interoperability is that, well, you cannot have too many chains because how do you navigate all those chains? It's very, very complex for users. And the answer is that all of that is going to be abstracted away. AI is going to be massively helpful there, because imagine a future where your AI agent you'll prompt something and they're going to be able to take an action on your behalf, right? Let's say, go to a lending market or find the best lending protocol that gives me the best rate and go trade on that, right? And then under the hood, it's going to identify the chain, right? Maybe it's on XRPL. It's going to transfer over the funds through Axelar, and it's going to take an action on behalf of the user. So if anything else, I do expect that AI is going to be the biggest user of interoperability technology in the future, just because it simplifies user experience so much, and people won't have to think about bridging at all 1 or 2 years down the line.
Boy, that'd be nice. That'll be a huge achievement, I think, in blockchain in general. Georgios and Jazzy, has been great having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you guys stopping in.
Thank you. It's a great chat.
You bet. Excellent.
Thank you so much, and again, Happy New Year.
All right, so you guys, if you're watching in right now, make sure and first of all, subscribe to the show and the channel. It's going to give you guys notifications when we do our live streams. Hit that little bell. It's really easy to do. And of course, get into our Diamond Circle. That's our own private group. We do additional content over there, podcasts, etc. You can join that with the link down below. And follow me out there on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.